So tell me a little bit about your founding story. Co-founders, Mr. Perfect Plumbing. How did that all kind of come together, and what were the kind of unique circumstances that led up to you guys starting this business?
Everything in the universe, I think, just kind of aligned.
So we basically both got fired like the same day. He was let go on the 12th of June and I was let go on the 13th. And he's like, keep your job, baby. And I'm like, I don't think so. I think I'm getting fired today. So that's what happened.
What do you think is the same, and what do you think is different between working at just like this big national ARS kind of a brand versus, starting your own Mr. Perfect Plumbing?
I learned a lot about what not to do, like how not to treat technicians, how not to treat employees. Some of those bigger companies make tons of money, but they don't, in my opinion, they don't do it in the best way. They treat people like a number, like you're as good as yesterday's report, which I never liked, which was part of why I kind of clashed with some of the higher ups.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Superpro podcast. I'm Roland Ligtenberg. I'm the co-founder of Housecall Pro and founder of the Superpro program. Over the last decade, I've had the honor of guiding thousands, actually hundreds of thousands of home service pros that embrace innovation and adopt technology in order to accelerate their business growth. I love learning about the journey. I love entrepreneurs. I love entrepreneurship and their journey through the trades and sharing their successes and tips and tricks with you all here. I'm super excited because today we have a unique and exciting episode with two of our newest super pros who are actually on site in our Denver office today, hanging out with product people, product marketing managers, all kinds of folks. This is one of the benefits of becoming a Housecall Pro Super Pro. Raising your hand, you get to participate in some really cool stuff and activities and, get you guys outside of the daily grind and give us your feedback. So today's guest, we have Barbra V and Jeremy Walsh. They are the co-founders of Mr. Perfect Plumbing. They're a plumbing and hydronic heating business based out of Aurora, Colorado, just outside of the city of Denver, Colorado, if you've never been. They're on track for $775K of revenue this year with 4 employees and 2 trucks on the road. They literally tripled or quadrupled their business in the last year. So I've got a ton of questions for these guys. Barbra and Jeremy, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
So tell me a little bit about your founding story. Co-founders, Mr. Perfect Plumbing. How did that all kind of come together, and what were the kind of unique circumstances that led up to you guys starting this business?
Everything in the universe, I think, just kind of aligned. Worked for a bigger company, left to go to another bigger company. Was convinced to go to a smaller company to help start a plumbing division. And, shortly after that, the plug got pulled on the plumbing division and kind of freaked out a little bit. One of those, what do we do? How are we going to pay the bills? And Barbara's like, well, why don't we just start your company? You wanted to. I think the following day she was let go.
So we basically both got fired like the same day. He was let go on the 12th of June and I was let go on the 13th. And he's like, keep your job, baby. And I'm like, I don't think so. I think I'm getting fired today. So that's what happened.
So you guys came from like a big national, brand, a big national company. And so you guys have a lot of learnings on what it looks like on the other side of the fence, which is like this massive operation. And now you're just kind of currently rebuilding, which I'm sure has a little bit to do with your guys' really quick kind of success in the last couple of years, because it's not like you're starting from scratch. You're starting with like a whole bunch of knowledge. What do you think is the same, and what do you think is different between working at just like this big national ARS kind of a brand versus, starting your own Mr. Perfect Plumbing?
A lot of the back end stuff I think is the same. A lot of the marketing, the tools that you need for that, having, not to plug you guys too much, but having a system like Housecall Pro, that was to us. Also learned a lot about what not to do, like how not to treat how not to treat technicians, how not to treat employees. Some of those bigger companies make tons of money, but they don't, in my opinion, they don't do it in the best way. They treat people like a number, like as good as yesterday's report, which I never liked, which was part of why I kind of clashed with some of the higher ups in that particular company. But I think a lot of the back end stuff is more the same. Customer facing, completely different. A few of the keeping your eyes open, looking for the logical upsell at each individual customer's home. Most people don't know everything there is to know about plumbing, why they should have, emergency shutoff valves under their versus We were at a call yesterday that the customer didn't have a shut off. They had a pipe break. So they had to turn it off to their house, and it was a senior. So by the time she figured out how to get downstairs where the shut off was, she had some pretty significant water damage throughout her home.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, a lot of this stuff that they teach you in those bigger companies as technicians of what to watch for, that is helpful, but the way in which you present it is completely different when you're a smaller company.
Yeah, I like kind of the juxtaposition because, whatever you are, whatever you're doing, there's always things to learn from, both on the good and the bad side of things, being able to kind of cherry pick the things that resonate with you, that work with your philosophy, and take the good things and move on to the next thing matters. What about for you, Barbara? Like, what's different for you, or what's the same?
So for me, actually working for a company like ARS was my first experience in the trades. I come from business side. I've always been in business development and sales, and going back into a corporate environment after being self-employed for so many years was very, very different. And I think my energy and innovation kind of resonated with the leadership that was here local to Denver. But at some point, it hits the ceiling. And the biggest difference that we have as a small company versus a large corporation is that we can be so agile and we can change and we can pick and choose our software. And I know Jeremy mentioned that, the back end is almost the same. It is not. I mean, like once we started with Housecall Pro, the difference of what we used over, before at the corporate level, it's night and day. I mean, like I was fighting that system like no tomorrow. It was like it was built in 1980s. You can only have one-way texting. And I was just flabbergasted at how behind technology some of these companies are because they built out their own software. So that was crazy.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest thing is I know I was let go, but I quit a month before. They begged me to stay. So it's the craziest thing that happened with them. But the treatment of employees and customers was the biggest whiplash for me. The strategy from the higher ups was changing weekly, and I was just getting exhausted. 1 week we're hiring 30 more employees. The next week we're not hiring 30 more employees. And the week later we're hiring them again. And I think that's what I learned is that when we sit down, we create a strategy. Do we need to change it a little bit every single quarter? Yes, we do. But we still have that one big vision that we go towards. And I think that's the biggest difference also between us being tiny and them being such a huge conglomerate.
Sure. And, you guys have grown super fast. 2024 to now, you're projecting to 4X or something crazy like that. Where are all of these leads and jobs coming from? Is this word of mouth? Is this marketing? Is this Barbara being a BD hustler? Is this Jeremy boots on the ground, like knocking doors? Like what kind of combo is generating this and how are you tracking all this?
Combination thereof, I think. Barbara does an amazing job, putting different market strategies and campaigns together. I personally believe that one of the biggest things that helps us so much is that we do, honest, high quality work for our customers. And at the end of it, we ask for the review. We ask, please recommend us to friend, family, neighbor, relative, whatever. We ask for it. We try to be honest and straightforward with our customers. And we've had a lot of very positive response from that. That there's enough plumbing problems in the world. We don't need to create any, and we don't need to lie to people about it. And folks genuinely appreciate it. And when you're honest and straightforward with people, they brag you.
So all of it was referrals. All of it was him posting on Facebook, hey, I started my own plumbing company. Everybody just showed up. This guy's been living in Denver all his life. I moved out 3 years ago. So if we would have done this in Florida, it would be probably massive people from my side. But he's just such a great networker and has always been there for all of his family and his friends. Our family just showed up in masses supporting us. And that's how it all started. And then they were referring us to their friends and their friends to their neighbors. And, and in December, we decided, hey, we need one more person. And once you start hiring, the referral friends and family is no longer enough. Now you have to feed some tricks, right? So that's when the market strategies went in. So we right away hired the best that we could think of, digital marketing company that put together a professional website, and they put together the SEO strategy and everything else. And now we're growing up enough where we're thinking, all right, we're ready for the next level of building it in-house. So it's a combination of everything.
Yeah, I think the one takeaway here for pros that are listening is there's no silver bullet for anything. But I think getting out of the gate, clearly, if you have an established network, and then I think the other golden nugget, which you said, Jeremy, which is great, which is like you don't get what you don't ask. So if you don't put yourself out there, which it sounds like you absolutely did, then people are not going to know about it. If you're too embarrassed to do it or whatnot. So I think at a certain point, you have to be able to kind of step back a little bit. And then, it may be a little humbling, at first, especially when you're starting your own business, and it may be a little embarrassing to some, but it's just like, be unembarrassable, go ask for that business. People will love to work with you. And I think having the right work ethic and the work quality speaks for itself, which then in turn generates the loop which you built, right? Which is that referral loop, which sounds like it's just humming along. And I think too, when you're getting to a certain size and you hire someone, you may not have enough business coming in to be super, I would say, repeatable and always busy. So that's when, bringing in some kind of marketing guns, thinking about what else can you do to kind of add fuel to the fire. Because you guys are looking at what, your fourth truck now, potentially bringing that in here at the end of the year, starting next year. Yeah. So, I mean, this is where, you got to keep the board busy, because you don't want guys to sit around and do nothing, because you're paying for that time no matter what. So, I feel like Barbara's got a lot of weight on her shoulders now. Like, all right, what are we doing in Q1 here?
Especially when you're working with partners in business. I think this year was a learning experience for both of us, probably especially for Jeremy, because he would just fire. Our situation is everything just was, circumstances. Like, we started this business because we both were let go same day. We actually bought our first truck only in December, right before, like 3 days before Christmas, because we decided to go to Florida to visit my family. So we needed to leave somebody here. Couldn't leave him with Jeremy's truck. So we found a van, bought it, registered it, put it on the road, put the technician in him. And it's like everything is just pushing,
It's a constant drive.
Yeah. Well, look, Jeremy, Barbara mentioned, you're always hiring, but I think hiring is probably one of the hardest things for a lot of, businesses, where it's like, how do you know the good people that you want to work with that'll kind of uphold your same kind of philosophies and ethics? So how are you doing that? How are you sourcing? Are these just like friends and family connections again? Are these people you used to work with? Are these people you're training from the street? Like, what's your strategy here, Jeremy?
Combination there of guys that I've worked with in the past, people that I've, met at supply houses, spent a couple minutes talking with them. You can kind of get a lot about a person by hearing what they complain about. What they have to do at their other company, or what their boss is saying they have to do, or they got written up because they didn't sell a water heater. Like, those are the kind of people that, they have integrity. And that, for me, that matters. For my company, that's important. I don't want the guys that are going to, just go out and sell a customer a brand new water heater when their existing water heater is 3 years old, nothing wrong with it. That's ripping the customer off. I don't want that. I don't want to do that. But if the guy has a problem, getting written up because they didn't do exactly that, that's somebody that I might want to sit down and spend a little more time with and hit their brain and see where they're at.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And, listening to what people complain about, you can have a kind of a good radar for like, okay, is this something they should be complaining about if they think this way, or not be complaining about?
It does. It works both ways. Like, okay,
that's right.
Complaining to complain, like, your situation's not that bad. You're just
complaining.
This, but you're just a bad employee.
Yeah. And, as you guys are growing too, I can only imagine, keeping track of all this. Actually, I like to ask this question. If you were to rate yourselves, and each of you guys have to give me a number. So Jeremy and Barbara, each have to give me a number from 1 to 10. 1 being your tech savviness is equivalent to maybe my in-laws that need help turning on the TV. 10 being, you're a computer engineer genius and working as head of engineering at Apple. So between 1 to 10, what would you rate your tech savviness on, Jeremy? And 1 to 10, what would you rate yourself on, Barbara?
I am a solid 3.
No hesitation. No hesitation. No hesitation.
I'd say 8.
Okay.
Because I'm not a genius, so maybe 8 point something.
So yin and yang, it sounds like, And when you were, how you clearly came from a big national company, so you knew you had to have some sort of system in place. What was like the pain or the problem you were experiencing when you're like, I'm going to go look at something like Housecall Pro? And how did you come across Housecall Pro? Was it just the internet, or like, did you hear about it, or like, what? Tell me about that story.
I heard about it from actually an HVAC company, First String Heating and Air. One of my friends that does only heating started years ago, and that's who he was using. At the time when I first started, I was using Square. Really basic. Invoicing looked very unprofessional. Keeping track of schedule was a nightmare.
You didn't keep track of schedule. That's exactly what the issue was. Because he was doing everything himself. I was still baking on the side and then helping him out. I wasn't like a full-blown partner, but he started getting frustrated because he was forgetting the calls. He didn't have anything on the schedule. All of it was in his head.
That's hard. That's hard to do.
And I'll be honest, when we first started, I looked at, like Service Titan and Suckware Remote or Successware Remote, because I use those at other companies. And when I looked at Service Titan, they're just, you don't have 10 trucks. We're not even going to talk to you. And after that, and I figured kind of the same thing with SW Remote. And I'm like, I just kind of went away, like, screw it is what it is until we get there. And then check this out, Housecall Pro, they're awesome. They're affordable. They're great for smaller companies that are starting off. And then I looked into it, and the price was there. It had everything that we needed. It was very professional. And signed up, and then come to find out there's a whole bunch of other stuff that we get to do with Housecall Pro that I had no clue about. Like, this is absolutely perfect, exactly what we do.
I like how he says he looked into it.
I did.
I scheduled a meeting, on the meeting. He's like, can you check this out? Yeah, I jumped on the meeting. I signed up for for the Max plan at the time of our conference.
Yeah.
Right, here's the deal. We'll pay this much this month, this much this month, and then full price on month 3. He's like, okay. And then we figured out all this other stuff we can do.
Yeah, so you came. So it sounds like the initial thing was like just trying to keep everything organized on the schedule, not forgetting a follow up and those pieces with the invoicing included. And then come to find out, there's like all these other things that now that Housecall Pro does. Where you're like, oh wait, that's cool. I want that one. What's something that Housecall Pro has to offer that you didn't know out of the gate that you're now like, oh man, like if only I had known this when I was signing up, I would have signed up even faster than the same number.
I think we talked about pipeline. It was probably the bigger ones. Was there something else with that?
I think like everything. So because we did get a lot of stuff included when we signed up.
Yeah.
I think the biggest mistake we made is not getting HCP voice right out of the gate. And we switched, I think, in January because we were just so frustrated with the software that we were using before. I'm like, wait. So I can answer the call on my computer and it will just open up the window and pull up the customer. And it's one of the greatest customer service things because people are just so surprised that I know who's calling. Like, yes, lady, is this your location? And this is the job we did for you before. And they're like, wow. So they don't know what I see. They just know that I know them and I can address them by their name and I know what their issues were before. And that's one of the biggest things.
And that absolutely helps with like the personal touch of, being a smaller family company. And that helps the customers it kind of reinforces that we care.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like them, and so I think that's where it actually goes with your name, which is like Mr. Perfect Plumbing, which is like, the perfect plumber should know my name and all the things about my house that they ever did before, just at the touch of a button. So I think between you two, a lot of people, they'll use like a Grasshopper or a Ring Central or like there's a million other VoIP apps, but none of them are integrated with your CRM, with your FSM. So you're not able to give that level of context. Like, sure, you can do it VoIP and it's cheap and all this kind of stuff. And you can kind of keep a shared contact list, but then be able to have that all in one place and have the call recordings and like, all those other pieces, the lead tracking. If you do multiple phone numbers in multiple different places, once you start doing marketing campaigns, knowing what marketing campaigns working and what campaigns not, I think having that all in one place is super great. I'm glad you guys kind of brought that up. What do you think is the most underrated feature? What's something that like it's not really an add-on? It's just a part of Housecall Pro, but like maybe our marketing team doesn't talk enough about, but adds a lot of value that you think other pros that might be listening would be like, oh man, I didn't know they did that, or oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that's super valuable.
Not as an add-on. I like the property module. I don't honestly, just seeing the house where they're going, knowing how many bathrooms it is, what's the square footage, like I can right away, guesstimate, and the guys also then know, what they need to look at, age of the home.
Yep.
Because especially in Denver, we have a lot of new developments, but we also have a very, very big old town area where the homes are from 1800s. So when I'm not going to send an apprentice to a house that's 150 years old. We'll be there. There's different type of troubleshooting when we're going there.
Yep.
So
I think that's a really cool feature, especially on the plumbing side. A big thing in like sewer repairs. We all know that homes built before 1984 have clay tile pipe. Clay tile pipe has a 30 to 40-year life expectancy in Colorado with the bentonite that we have in our soil. Having that house pop up, I'm on my way to a main line. I know the house was built in 1960. Unless they had it repaired already, we know it's clay. So that gives me the idea that, okay, yes, I'm going to clear the line, get the line open and draining for the customer, fix the immediate problem. But I'm also kind of gearing up and getting ready for looking at the deeper underlying issue that they have going on, which is a sewer line that's past its life expectancy.
Yeah, and probably also bringing the right tools, making sure you got your pipe cams and all those kind of things like on the right truck from an inventory perspective, so you're not rolling without it. And then sure, when you get to the homeowner, you can set the expectation out of the gate, which is what you said, and you said it kind of very simply, but it's like you're going to get unclogged, you're going to go get them functioning again, but the reality is there's going to be a bigger bill probably coming up, and then you need to do like a full repiping. You're going to have to trench it out and dig a whole new thing. I think being able to set those expectations with customers out of the gate is nice, so that they don't feel like you're just coming there to rip them off. It's just, you're not there, it's going to be 15, 20 grand to go redo this thing. And they're like, what? but yeah, I think those little things, I think for sure, those are underrated. And they add a little bit of extra context to help you do your job that maybe you wouldn't have done before because, you'd have to like load up Zillow in the background, in another app on another thing. And then you teach your technicians to do that. And then it's a whole nother step, that you have to add to your SOPs.
Funny thing that you mentioned Zillow. That's exactly what we did at the $2 billion company that had an amazing software system. The dispatchers and the CSRs were actually pulling up Zillow just to know the square footage, the bedrooms, so that they can do calculations and stuff. Yeah, and I'm like, that's not that difficult to get that as part of your software.
Unfortunately, they also used it in a negative light as well. Like if the home is only like $150,000 last time it was sold, that customer went to the bottom of the list thinking that they had no money. Like they didn't care about the actual customer. They're like, oh, well, your house was only this, so you probably don't have a lot of money. We'll get to you and this $1 million home, we're going to go there first.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to optimization, there's definitely things to think about. But I think when you treat the customers right over long term, you're going to win no matter what. Because, small jobs, big jobs, you're going to have to keep the trucks busy. And if you have to prioritize every once in a while, it makes sense. But, in general, you treat everyone the same. You're probably going to get a lot more referrals long term. And that's going to help you with small jobs and big jobs. And you need a mixture of all to kind of make it work. I know, Barbara, you're a fan. Do you guys have the dash cams or the GPS trackers? I forget.
We have dash cams.
Dash cams. And so it's integrated with On My Way. Tell me a little bit about why that's a cool feature or why you like it or why you think maybe other pros should be using that versus just the regular On My Way.
Sure. So I had a few customers asking, how far the technicians are. And all I can do is go to the schedule, see if they finished the job, see if they hit on my way. But besides that, and I tell everybody, I'm in a dungeon. I don't, I'm running office and customers and the jobs, but I'm blind. And that's why I told Jeremy, I need cameras in the trucks. For, one thing is for our own protection, but mainly just to know where the trucks are at and how far they are from the customers. And once I realized that it also gives the link for the customer to know how far the truck is and what's the ETA, because they're asking me, what is the ETA? And now I have to text the technician, what's your ETA to the customer? We basically eliminated, all of that. Now the customer gets the text message, they get the link, they know how far the technician is. And I'm just thinking when I'm ordering Uber Eats, for example, I want where the technician is, do I have time to take a shower? I mean, the driver is, I want to know if I can still take a shower or put something away. And that just gives me the freedom. There's just another layer of customer service and plus another layer of automation because I love everything. If I don't have to do it and take away that step, and that's what you guys did, is alleviate that, that additional communication away from me. I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, I think that's where automation comes into play because it might not be like a massive automation, but that's an extra question. That's already answered. They can click it however many times they want. And then there's the customer service that when Jeremy shows up and he presents a price that's reasonable, or even maybe not the cheapest price, but a mid price or a high price. Then people are like, well, I get it. I'm paying for customer service. I'm paying for being able to see it like DoorDash. I'm paying for like all these kind of things. So that it helps increase estimate conversion rate. And how do you put a price on that? I don't know. But all I know is that it makes you seem more professional and it makes sense that you can win bigger, better jobs more easily. Right. And then if you didn't have that feature. And so it's something where, you're able to help that experience.
We can also, as we put systems in place, I think all the time into the future and scalability. And the thing is, we're running, 2-3 trucks now. What happens when we're running 25? Do I need CSRs to answer these questions?
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. And I like how you've got like the big, because you have got the big company background. You're like, okay, if it was 25, one extra question times every single job times 3 jobs a day times 25 trucks. Okay. That's, let's go to 75. So you're doing, you'd have to hire a CSR that's just answering, where's the guy? And you pay them $50,000-$60,000 a year to do that. So, not cheap for a simple question. No. Yeah. You guys have been killing on reviews. You guys have a perfect, over 100 reviews just in this year and a bit that you've been doing this. Clearly, you guys are doing something right and you're asking for reviews too. You're probably automating that piece as well because you guys are showing up really high on Google already in your brand new company. Is there anything else special that you're doing to get your review count like that high, that quick?
Every job when we're done, we simply ask the customer, we're going to send you a link asking for a Google review. Before I finish this call out today, is there anything that I can do to guarantee that I earned a 5-star review from you today?
That's a great script.
Very simple. I've had, I think, one customer say, you know what, I think X. I think my apprentice didn't get something cleaned up quite enough. And I'm like, I apologize. Let me grab that real quick. I apologize. Get on it. But most people are like, I think you're amazing. You guys are great. You responded quickly. And usually the review is done before I'm even arriving at my next call.
Wow.
Housecall Pro automation. As soon as we switched from Square to Housecall Pro, that's when the reviews started coming in because we're getting them as a job close. So the text message goes out, the email goes out, and then they also have on the business cards, on the back of the business card, they have a QR code for the review.
Got it. Multiple touch points. You're asking for it. You've got the business card. You got the automation link via the email, via the text. So I think, the golden nugget here is just you don't get what you don't ask and just ask in multiple different ways. And if you do a good job, don't be afraid of asking because like Jeremy just said, they might give you some feedback right then and there. Like, hey, can you do this? Or, hey, this was more than I thought or whatever it was. But then you have the opportunity to make sure it's a 5-star versus you leave, then they give you a 3 or 4 star. Then you got to call them back and say, hey, Barbara, what did I do wrong? How can we fix it? It's another trip, And so I like your script a lot. And I hope people rewind back, do the 15-second skip back or the 30-second skip back on the podcast, boop, 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 and just like write down that script because that's a great one. What does it mean to be a Superpro for Housecall Pro? What does the community mean to you guys? You guys are relatively new, but what does it mean?
Swag. I'm wearing mine today.
You got Champion the Trades on, yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, I was a little bit honored when we even got asked. Like, it made me feel kind of verified that we're doing things the right way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like the opportunity of being part of the Superpro group. It's much smaller than the Housecall Pro Facebook group. Being invited to on-site meetings, especially that we're here in Denver and having a corporate office here. You guys constantly ask for feedback, and I don't mind coming in as many times as needed because this is the software that I turn on at 6 o'clock in the morning. and I turn off at 8 o'clock at night. And it's on my phone. It travels with me on vacation. So it's like Housecall Pro is like my second husband in reality. I'm sorry. It's there with me. So being a super pro, it's like another, valuation in our progress, just being part of this community, being able to give you guys feedback, making the software better. Because like I said, Housecall Pro is our bread and butter. The guys are out there delivering plumbing services, but I live in the software day in, day out.
Yeah, I think those are all valuable. But I think, for us, the only way we can get better is if we get the feedback from our pros. So, being able to ask our super pros and have them on site, in our corporate headquarters is amazing because, you're working with our product managers and our product marketing managers actually building the product every single day. And we're not using it every single day on the field because we're busy building it. So we need the feedback from you guys that are like, hey, I wish this button was there. Or, hey, what do you think about this new design? Does this make it easier? Does it make it harder? Is there less clicks? Because you guys are the one, like you said, Barbara, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. You're living and breathing it. You're checking the schedule. Is everything getting paid, etc. And Jeremy's clicking the on my way button each time and telling his technicians to do it each time to remember to click that on my way button, which is there's got to be some.
Those are crucial.
No, actually, these guys are pretty good. I mean, compared to my previous corporate life where I did run dispatch for the company, getting the guys click that on the way button or started the job button is just
hard.
These guys are actually pretty good. But in reality, why are those buttons so important is because we measure your guys' conversions and your cost.
Tracking
because efficiency. Efficiency. How long are you on the road?
Drive time, start time, everything.
Here is the underrated feature, AI. My analyst is my best friend. Today we had a meeting and one of our technicians wanted to know his close rate. I don't even pull reports. I just go to the AI analyst and I asked him, what's the close rate for so-and-so for last week? Spits out the numbers. There you go.
That is underrated. Yeah, because that would have taken a couple different reports to go pull. You'd have to go find all jobs, by date range, by technician. You have to build the report and then you have to click and you have to verify it versus. But even if you ask the analyst, it'll still spit it out for you, so you can click on it, so you can see where the data came from. So it's kind of like a little shortcut. So if you need to modify it a little bit, or sort by job type, install only, right? Then you can do only install stuff that Jeremy did last week or something like that. That's cool. Okay, last question. I love asking this question. I'm going to ask this of each of you. What's something you could tell Jeremy of 10 years ago? If you could travel back in time, what would you tell baby Jeremy? Maybe you weren't a baby, but maybe you were mid-baby. What would you tell Jeremy 10 years ago? Piece of advice.
Start the company now.
Where would you have been if you started the company 10 years ago? Yeah.
Right now, honestly, I'd probably be checking in on a GM once a month. Asking what I can do to make his job easier. Otherwise, enjoying the warm weather. Spend some time.
That's good advice. What about you, Barbara? 10 years ago, would you be starting the company as well 10 years ago, or what would you be doing 10 years ago?
Actually, I did have a company 10 years ago. It was IT company. That's why I love technology so much. I would say to myself 10 years ago for preparing for today is AI is coming and you better know how to use it. So
that's awesome. Good advice. It is here. Know how to use it. It's all within Housecall Pro. There's CSR AI, there's endless AI, there's accounting AI, there's help AI, there's marketing AI, there's kind of AI that's getting woven everywhere, which is amazing. So leverage it because it's like another employee that you get to ask questions of, you get answers from really easily. I think that's all really great advice. Thank you guys so much for A, coming on the podcast, B, spending time in the office with our folks at Housecall Pro. That's always awesome. And it's great for them to meet pros in real life and listen to them. And so I'm glad you guys are local to them as well. And then for anyone else that's listening to the Superpro podcast, if you're a Housecall Pro user and you liked some of the add-ons or some of the things they mentioned, reach out to us. We'd be happy to add it on, demo it, do a free trial, whatever you want. If you're not using Housecall Pro and you're like, oh man, I could be like Jeremy and Barbara and starting my business 10 years ago, and you've just been waiting for the right tool, you can always go to housecallpro.com. podcast deal. And then also you can always text me. So I'm a real person. I'm a human. I'm not AI. See, I can wave my hands. I can hold up a picture of a piece of mail. See, it's real. Try to ask AI to do that. They won't be able to do that. You can text me at 858-215-1512. Any question you want, I will get it routed to the right person and make sure you get taken care of. Thank you guys so much for being on the show and being super pros.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you guys all again next week with another special guest on the Superpro podcast. Sign out. Bye, guys.
The Superpro podcast is brought to you by Housecall Pro, the leading platform for the home service industry. Housecall Pro streamlines your workflows and simplifies everything from scheduling and dispatching to communication and billing. Unlock the full potential of your home service business with Housecall Pro. Work smarter and more efficiently with streamlined workflows and detailed analytics. Win more business and serve your customers well, every single time. Join more than 40,000 home service pros who have already revolutionized their businesses. Work smarter with streamlined workflows, get organized with centralized information, and scale your business your way. Learn more at housecallpro.com.